Hello everyone. Christina here. Welcome to day 5 of the holiday card series for 2025. Tonight, I'm going to be doing some minimal supplies watercolor, and I planned out what I want to do. And in fact, there is a free downloadable template or even an SVG file if you have a digital cutter that you can use to recreate this card that I'm making tonight. So if any of you are ambitious and you want to make it right along with me, you are more than welcome. There is a link down below in the video description. It's going to take you to a page at my blog where you can download the files and also see all of the supplies that I'm using today. It's amazing what happens when I have time to plan, right? Normally, my lives are very fly by the seat of my pants, and I don't have a supply list for you, and it's just kind of like create off the top of my head. But this card was much more planned because I wanted to make sure I had this template for all of you. So let's jump into it. Oh, before we get into that, reminder that tomorrow is release day for Conquer the 9th, which means that my December release is also coming out tomorrow. I've shared some sneak peeks at Instagram and also here at YouTube, and I hope you all are excited about the products. If you need a little break from your holiday crafting, these are not holiday related products at all, so it's kind of fun if you need a little bit of that break. Hello over in the comments. Oh, I'm not organized now, Betsy, by any means. It just seems like I am. In fact, I've got this like one thing of hair right here that is bugging the crap out of me. I might need to fix that before we move on. Hold on. Like, this is my messy bun on the top of my head. Very messy bun. There we go. That one piece of hair was just really bugging me. Okay. Oh, and another cute sweater. Well, like I said last week, I bought way too many sweaters. This sweater is from Langnickel Zen, and it's actually on sale. If any of you want to go and pick it up, it's a good one. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Check out the rest of the comments here. People are loving the cross-stitch stamps. Thank you, Cheryl. Love it. Oh, thank you, Sika. I'm also trying out a new microphone tonight. I tried it out yesterday with my premium members on a member live, and it worked out really well. So we're going with it. We're going with this new microphone. Hopefully we don't have any issues. Let's see. Let's see. Okay. So let's jump to the overhead camera and we will get started. So, okay, we are doing a watercolor card tonight, and I thought it'd be fun to kind of make it look like a bunch of gingerbread cookies. You're going to paint them and then ice them with a white gouache, or you could even just use a white gel pen. So the template that I've come up with is for a 5x7 card. This is the printout. This is the PDF. These are exactly 5x7, and there are a couple of different ways that you can use it, and that's why I wanted to give you options. On this one, it might be easier if you have your watercolor paper over the top and you have it like in front of a window. It might be easier to see this black interior so you can kind of trace the shapes of the cookies. Or you could use the outlined version. Or if you have access to a digital cutting machine, I just use my Cricut, you can actually cut it out. And this one is a special, the SVG version is special because it cuts out a frame. So let me get this all ready to go. I'm just going to peel up my little framed piece, and then I'm going to use this to create my card tonight. So for my card, I have cut out a piece of watercolor paper, and it is 6x8. And it's specifically that size because I want to be able to paint off the edge and then cut out a 5x7 card design. So I wanted to make sure I had plenty of space outside of that. And this little frame is exactly 6x8. Pay no attention to my poorly cut watercolor paper that's hanging out off the edges. Okay, where did my pencil go? I just had a pencil. Oh, here, it's right here. So after you have your template, you're going to trace on the outline of the cookies. Now this frame here on the outside is larger than 5 by 7. So go ahead and trace that on. You can just put your masking tape right at that point. So I'm going like this, and I'm doing kind of some lighter lines. I don't want it to be super really stark and black. I just want to be able to see the lines. So I'm just going around with my pencil. Tracing all of these lines. This is going to help me paint my cookies and also the background. Almost ready. Rounding third plate, coming into home. Okay. So now we have our entire like basic design. So here we go. Over in the comments. Let's see here. Do I have the SVG linked? Yes. You will download the file at my blog. Just go to that first link in the video description. I think it's the first link. And then it says download the file. And you can download the file. It is a zip file. It will have 3 files in there. One is this printable PDF that you can use if you don't have a digital cutting machine. There's also a JPEG that's just this right here if you want to just do the, you know, the 5 by 7, and you can like import it into whatever program you need. And then the SVG file is the one that has the frame, and it's a little bit larger. So just so you're aware. Tanya's asking if we only have a printer, can we miss this step? If you only have the printer, but you want to trace it like this, what I would do is use your scissors, like maybe print this on a heavier weight of paper, and then you could cut around this black shape, and then you can just place it on top and trace the outer edge. You can do that too. In fact, I did cut out, where did I put it? When I was coming up with different versions of this, I did cut this out. And I was going to use this as my template, but this is exactly, let's see, where is it? This is exactly 5 by 7. So you can see how it'll be just inset from the sides. So if you wanted to do it that way, you could. But I find it easier to have the frame on there so you can get it on the watercolor paper just right. Okay, now we're going to take a hardboard. You could use a clipboard. You could even just use a book if you don't mind the book getting a little bit damp from the paper. But we are taping this down to a board because we are going to be painting all of this. Just missed a couple little spots here. I'm just filling those in. Okay. Like I said, this little outer frame edge, I'm just going to use that for some guides for where to put my tape, but you definitely don't have to do your tape like that. Okay. You know what? I almost considered doing multiples of this card tonight, but then I was like, slow your roll, Christina. People don't want to be watching a live for 5 hours. These are some pretty easy lines and shapes. So if you wanted to use a craft knife or something, you definitely could. But I think I would just cut it without the frame and use scissors. I think that would be easier. Okay. All right. So now we're going to get into all of the painting. These pencil lines are pretty dark right now. So I'm going to take an eraser and just lightly go over them. I'm just trying to get a little bit of the dark pencil line. We're going to do a very light blue background. You could do whatever color you want. I think like a bright red background would be pretty as well. But I just thought like a nice pale blue would be really pretty. So I just don't want these pencil lines to show up. Okay, so I've just lightened those a little bit with my eraser. All right, I'm also gonna pull up my sleeves. Okay. All right, so we are ready for paint. The paint I'm using tonight is the Sakura Koi pocket-filled sketch box. This is the recommended watercolors. If you are just starting out, you're not ready to invest in any expensive watercolors, this is the set that I would recommend, because I think it's like, you're still gonna have a really good experience. The colors are very creamy. You're gonna get 24 colors in this box here. Mine is well loved. I've had it for many years, but it's still kicking. So I would recommend this one. And when you're ready to, if you love watercolor, you want to invest in something more than this, then I would recommend going to the Magello Mission Gold tube paints. They come in a tube and you have to squeeze them out. Those are my absolute favorite watercolors ever. But this is a much simpler introduction to watercolor. So if you're just barely dipping your toe into watercolor, this is a great palette to have. I think we talked about this in a member live recently, that it helps to have nice tools because it will make your experience better. But also you don't want to invest in really expensive things until you know you're really going to stick with it. So this is one of the ones, it's about $25 on Amazon. You can find it at art stores and art supply stores as well. It actually comes with a water brush that you can use. And I think you're supposed to wet these sponges so you can clean your brush. We're in our craft rooms tonight. We're not doing that. Okay, so you know what? Talk about being prepared. You guys are gonna be flabbergasted because you're never gonna guess what I also have prepped for tonight. Let me get this ready for you. Here we go. Hopefully this works. All right, look at that. We've got a second camera. Let me get this centered out here a little bit better. This is so that I can zoom in on the painting, but you guys can see my palette. Okay, so now I can zoom in over here and we can be all nice and close and see what's happening, but we can do all of our painting over on this side. I have my water bucket right up here. You can kind of see the edge of it right there. I also have some paper towel. I don't know if we're going to need a lot of paper towels tonight, but it's good to have it. The other paint I'm going to be using is white gouache. White gouache is kind of a more opaque paint, and I'll be able to add white over top of existing color. You could also use a white paint pen, a white gel pen, anything like that. I'm going to try to use gouache tonight because I want to have it look a little bit more painterly and almost like I am really applying some royal icing on these cookies. So that's what we're going to be at. Okay, in my head I'm thinking I want light blue background and then the brown cookies. So I'm thinking ahead. I probably want to paint the light blue first so that, because if I did the brown first and then went to paint the blue, my blue paint might pull some of that brown and then I'd get some weird spots. So we're gonna paint the background first. So I'm gonna grab, let's see, what brush do I want? I don't think I have this brush listed. This is actually maybe I did. This is the 1/2 inch flat brush. Actually, I probably don't want that one. I probably want a different one. This is a size 6 Zen. I think I listed that one. Okay. So we're going to come up with our nice blue shade. This one right here looks nice. And when we want a really, really light color, when it comes to watercolor, all that means is diluted, like more water than paint. And also with watercolors, you want to remember that generally it will dry lighter than what it is when it's wet. Okay, I'm gonna grab a little scrap of watercolor paper just to test this out. I like to do this, like, you know, with little scraps after I've cut my panel down. Okay. So I'm just gonna test this, like, okay, that, oh, sorry, off camera. That blue is a little bit too dark. I think I want it even lighter. So I'm gonna add more water to this. I'm getting lots and lots of water here. Okay, that's a little bit lighter. I like that. I think that's gonna be great. So now I'm going to take my paint that I've got going here, and I'm just going to start pulling in a nice blue background. This doesn't have to be precise. It can go past the pencil lines at this point. I mostly just want to get this background painted. And as long as I have kind of like a wet spot going, I can continue to pull the paint and I won't get any dry back areas. So I want to try to keep like a little bead of water going here. Now, if you want to get fancy and start doing like layers on your card, and you have that cutting machine, you could have it cut all these shapes, paint them, and then pop them up. I think that would look really pretty as well. I'm trying to get this area painted while it still has that nice wet edge, because then we won't have any dry back areas. See, I just went past the edge of the tree here. That's okay. When I go to paint the gingerbread cookie, I can kind of clean up that line a little bit. But also, that's the fun of these watercolor cards, is that you can, you don't have to have perfect edges. It'll look a little bit more playful, a little bit more handmade if you have, you know, some kind of like wobbly edges. Okay, just getting in this last little spot here. And if you want to get even more fancy, you could like change the color of the background as you're moving down the card. I think that could be really pretty too. Like have it be a little bit of a darker blue at the bottom or something. Okay. Then I've got a little bit of more kind of water at the bottom there, so I'm kind of dry paper towel that, and now I have a nice flat background. Okay. The pencil lines are probably going to get trapped by the watercolor. I won't be able to erase them, so I'm not going to worry about them. And also, when I start to paint on the gingerbread color, I think it's going to disguise a lot of that pencil line anyway. I'm going to use my heat tool just to speed along the drying, because we are live here, so we don't have time to sit and wait for this to dry. But here's another tip for you. Okay, I don't know if you guys can see this. When I tip this up, you can see that the watercolor paper has kind of puffed up a little bit. It puffs up because the water enters the paper and the fibers swell, so the paper puffs up. So when, and you won't be able to see this on camera most likely, but if it's in person, you'll definitely see it. When you're drying with your heat tool or a hair dryer, any way that it's going to dry, there will come a moment when the aspect of it being puffed up, it will just flatten out and just go whoosh, and that's how you know it's dry. Also, you can touch it, and if it's cool to the touch, it is still wet. So I'm going to hit this with my heat tool, and I'm going to watch for that moment when it goes flat back to the hardboard again. Okay, it's looking more flat now. All right. No cool spots. Everything's good. Okay, let's mix up some browns. Now I basically want a light brown and then a really dark brown. And I'm going to paint each one of these sections in the light color, and then I'm going to drop in, while it's still wet, I'm going to drop in the darker brown, and that's hopefully going to give us a little bit of some shading so it looks like our light source is coming from above. So the tops of the cookies are going to be lighter, and then the bottom edges will be darker. We're also going to give that illusion when we add some shadows to the cookies later. So let's mix up some brown shades. I'm kind of thinking this is probably a good gingerbread color, but also it might be a little bit too red. So we'll add some of that cooler brown that's right next to it in the palette, and that'll give us the color we want. I'm going to make a really big puddle of color because I don't want to run out of this color, you know, when I've got one cookie left. You know what I'm saying? Let's see. You can use a watercolor pencil and so the lines will disappear. You definitely can. I don't have any watercolor pencils because I don't really use them for painting, but having like a single watercolor pencil for sketching is probably a good idea. Okay, so that's one. Now I'm going to do like a lighter version up here, because we need to have the light version and the dark version. Okay, I'm gonna add a little more of this paint here to this puddle. And now I'm gonna bring in this cooler brown, and hopefully it will start to cool off that very reddish brown shade. We want it to be more of like a golden brown. In fact, that brown might have been perfect from the get-go. It's pretty close, actually. Maybe I should have just gone with that brown. That's not a bad idea. I'm going to back up here. Why not? I'm going to clean up this color from my palette, just because I want to use that really big area. And if a little bit of that color is hanging around in the palette, that's okay. Get a new paper towel. All right, we will go to this brown instead, because I think that's actually more of the brown that I was looking for. Yeah, for sure. And if you want the color in the palette to be stronger, just leave your brush in the color and swish it around, and it will get thicker and thicker and thicker, and then you'll get a darker color over to your palette. I think one of the major struggles that beginner watercolorists have is that their colors are too diluted from the start, and they struggle getting nice, strong color. So I'm just going to come in here and add more color up here. Hey, Carissa. Yeah, you can paint, you can wet your paints ahead of time. I never do because I like to have a little bit more control over the paints from the start. I'm also using a smaller brush. If I was using a larger brush, I could pick up more paint to transfer it to my palette. Okay. And since we're using the color directly from the palette, we don't have to worry too much about, you know, light and dark and all that. Although I think I kind of want to add What is that color? What is that? Is that a dark brown? Or is it a gray? What is that? I think it's a gray. Into the dark puddle, I'm going to add a little bit of that darker black color. Yeah, there we go. I just wanted a little bit of a different color shift there. All right, let's test this brown. How dark is it? That's pretty dark, actually. Oh, you can't even see it. There we go. That's pretty dark. So I'm going to add more water and dilute it quite a bit. Okay, and then if we add that dark into that, yeah, there we go. I wanted to get a little bit of that like color difference. I might even bring in a little bit of that warmer shade up here. Oh, that really took over, didn't it? Oh, but I like that brown. That's nice. I like it. Okay. We're going to go with that. All right, so this is the corner, or like a quarter of the star cookie. We're going to start with that one. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to paint all of this and keep it really wet the entire time. And then before it has a chance to dry, I'm going to come in and drop in some of the dark shade just down here at the bottom. I'm actually going to tip my board a little bit, and that's going to encourage that darker shade to kind of travel and move a little bit. Now maybe I'll even bring in a little spot like that. We just want a little bit of color difference on the cookie itself. So do you see how that just has a little bit of a darker spot? I'm going to darken it up just a little bit more, because this is the first cookie we're doing. I'm just trying to get a good handle on how it's going to look. So we'll tip that this way, and that will encourage that to kind of travel a little bit. There we go. So we want it to look almost like the edges have cooked. There we go. All right. Let's go on to the next cookie. This is a really big one, so I'm going to get more paint going. Okay. This is going to be a little house. You know what? I probably should paint it from this direction, actually, because that top edge. Just trying to get all of this color on here. And while it's still wet, I'm going to bring in the dark shade. I'm going to tip my board here, and I'm going to start to bring in the dark shade on the edges. Try to get it to kind of wick away into that wet area. This is a really big cookie. It's okay if you need to grab a little more water on a brush and kind of encourage that to move a little bit. Bring in a little darker on those edges here. Just like that. It's going to have a lot of like detail on it with the white gouache. So if it doesn't look quite right now, that's okay. We're going to just disguise a lot of it by coming in with the design on the house. All right, we'll just let that dry. right, let's come in with some more. Let's do the little edge of this little gingerbread guy right here. I'll just paint him. All right, like I did before, I'm going to tip it around. I'll grab my darker color. We're just going to add the darker color just right on the edges. All right, I'm going to get a little more of a darker shade up here, because I really love how this is dark on this side. Yeah, there we go. And it'll dry back quite a bit, so if it's a little intense at the moment, that's okay. All right. We're going to do this big, huge mitten now. I'm tempted to switch to a larger brush because it is such a large area. I'm using a size 6 round brush right now. And I'm picking up my board like I'm holding it so that I can tip it, and it's encouraging the bead of water to come to the bottom of the shape. And of course, right after I say that, I set it down, but that's mostly so I can keep it nice and still for this part. Okay, I'm gonna tip it upside down again. Gonna grab that dark color, just start to drop that color in right along the edge here. Get some more of that original color. Kind of drop that in, encourage it to kind of move a little bit. Get kind of like a mottled look. Okay. I'm going to bring a little more of the dark shade in, just because it's really dark over here. So I want to, you know, more than one cookie was left in the oven too long, put it that way. Okay. Maybe I'll give this just a little bit of a darker edge right up here. Okay. Just a few more. I'm going to get some more of the lighter shade going. Let's do the dove or the bird next. Sorry, that was the palette scraping against itself. It's the most awful sound ever. Okay, just getting these little edges right here. And then quite a bit of the bottom of this cookie here will be cut off because there's about, gosh, at minimum a quarter of an inch will be cut off. So I want to make sure that I grab enough of the dark color to have it come in like quite a bit, because I want to make sure there's some dynamic color on this cookie. adding a little water to this to encourage it to kind of spread a little bit. And I'm going to add just a little bit of a dark right up there at the top, just to give it a little bit more color. That one went very quick, didn't it? Now the tree. Okay. Well, it could be a chicken. It depends on the details you add to it. But it's actually going to be more of a dove. That's more of what I was planning for it to be. Getting the bottom of the tree in here, and just like on the bird, we want to make sure that there's enough color difference at the top. So I'm just gonna put that in quite a bit. Maybe have it catch some of this side here. We just want a little bit of difference in color. Okay. If it's like a very golden gingerbread color, the edges can get really dark. So I'm almost thinking I might do a little bit of a darker edge around before we do the detail. And this with my heat tool, just so it's dry. Okay, so now we're going to take the darker shade that we were working with before. Let's just do kind of like a little try run. Oh, my tape is coming up. Let's press that down again. Let's do kind of like a little trial run right up here. I'm just doing a nice dark shade. Wiping off my brush, and then I'm going to kind of encourage it to blend into the existing color. And I think I'm going to do that around the entire cookie just to give it a nice edge. Someone in the comments was saying the dark done edges means it's crispy. And that's the best cookie. You could also, you could paint these more of like a yellow golden color and look more like shortbread. I think that could look really cool too. I think right now the star cookie is the crispiest. Okay, add a little edge around our little gingerbread guy's arms and legs. When I take my brush away, I'm cleaning off the paint so it's a clean, just has clear water, and then I'm dabbing off my brush on a paper towel to take away some of that water. That allows me to get a little bit of a better blend. The smoke alarm almost went off with the star one. I'm not that bad of a baker. cleaning off my brush, dabbing in a paper towel, and then bringing it over to kind of soften that edge. I'll continue my darker edge. Cleaning off my brush, dabbing on a paper towel, and once again just softening this edge. Okay, moving on, I'm going to mix a little bit more color. Get a little bit of that darker shade in there and mixing a little bit of the reddish brown. That might almost be too dark now. I guess we'll find out. I really think having your project on a hardboard is really important, even if you're not painting edge to edge, because it really does allow you to pick it up and turn it around and do all sorts of things. Okay. Yeah, the darker shade really does give it lots more depth. Gives it a little bit more contrast. In fact, I might even come in and do one more layer just to get it really dark. Next to that blue line, like the blue outline, the blue background, I think it's going to look great. Okay, cookies are looking good. Hit this with my heat tool, and then we're going to go in one more time and add an even darker line. I'm using a 9x12 board right now. All right, I'm going to switch to a smaller brush. This is a size 2. I'm going to switch to a smaller brush so that I have a little bit more control over how much paint is being applied on this next little spot. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to make a larger puddle of color. And it can be pretty dark this time. Okay. All right, let's add this right to the edge of the star. I'm going to do like I did before, clean off my brush, dab it on a paper towel, and then come in and kind of just soften that edge that I just painted. And it just darkens up that edge. It's going to give it a much more defined edge. In fact, sometimes it's better to do this in little sections. See how that just defines that edge more? This is also a time when you can kind of perfect and smooth out the line, the edge on each cookie. A 9 by 12 pan. Yes, they're on a 9 by 12 pan. It would actually be really cute if you did like a gray background so it looks like a cookie sheet. That would actually be really cute. Y'all, I watched another holiday movie on Netflix. Last week, I believe I told y'all about champagne problems and how it was pretty good. This one was, the premise is ridiculous. It's called My Secret Santa. It has the actress that's plays Mel in Virgin River. That's what drew me in. Y'all, she dresses up like Santa. I'm sorry. No one could get away with that. The premise was ridiculous. It was entertaining. I'll give it that. I was painting my nails. So like I didn't really care entirely what I was watching. Like it didn't need to be like life-changing or anything. I was just painting my nails in the background. Stephanie, you watched it? It was okay. I mean, pretty predictable. Yes, the Mrs. Doubtfire. There was the Mrs. Doubtfire montage scene. I thought that was pretty clever. Yes, far-fetched. Cute, but far-fetched. That's probably a good description. I think I saw someone ask, what am I doing when I take the brush away? I'm adding on the dark line, dipping it in my water, and then dabbing it off on a paper towel off to the side just to take away some of the water on the brush. And then I can come in and kind of soften that edge. That's what I'm doing. Okay. I'm really loving how these darker edges are really crisping up the cookies. They looked underbaked before, right? You know what? Gingerbread is actually not my favorite. I would probably take like a sugar cookie over gingerbread any day. Don't tell my husband that. He loves gingerbread. But the man also prefers vanilla over chocolate. I'm like, who are you? I know there are people out there who don't prefer chocolate. Like if you're given a choice between like chocolate cake or vanilla cake, what are you going for? Ooh, Carissa says snickerdoodle. That's a good one too. Like anything cinnamon. Carissa, have you tried the, oh my word. I think it's just the cinnamon dolce latte at Starbucks right now. That was delicious. Ginger molasses cookies are, I like how chewy they are. You know, if it's a really good chewy cookie, I like that. But, you know, I'd much rather have a sugar cookie any day. Okay. I like that. That really darkened them up quite a bit. I think that looks great. Before we go on to decorating our cookies, we're going to add a shadow to them. So we're going to mix up kind of like that same blue shade that we were using before. I don't know what blue it was. Was it this one? Was it that one? I don't remember which one it was. That's okay. We're just going to mix up a blue shade that we can use. We want it to be a little bit of a darker blue. Maybe even grayed out just a little bit. There we go. Alrighty. Using my smaller brush once again, and let's just test this blue over the top. I think that's going to be really nice. Okay. So we're going to be adding the shadow just to the underside of the cookies. So about like this. Just a little tiny one right there. We just want to give it a little bit of a shadow. In fact, we might even have to darken it up a little. Just adding some shadows to each of these cookies. All right. I think it could even go a little darker. What do we think? I think it could go even a little darker. I think the shadows got lighter the more I went along. Yeah, I think the darker shadow is going to be nice. Sorry, I'm like concentrating on getting these shadows in because I don't want to overdo it, you know? Okay. Just a little bit of shadow right there. A little hint right there. Okay, now it is time to decorate our cookies. So I'm actually going to turn off. Hi, I'm back. I'm gonna I'm gonna have to get clean water because I don't want my brown paint or my white paint to turn brown. So I'm gonna put this palette off to the side and I'm gonna go get some browning water. So I've got to clean this up. And my craft room sink is back in commission. We love this for me. All right. Just get some nice water here. I'll leave this paint palette by my sink to dry. Got some water. And I like to just paint gouache straight from like an acrylic block. You could also use a palette or something, but I'm just going to have it on an acrylic block so it's a little bit easier to pick up and move around. But here we go. Here's my acrylic block. Here's my white gouache. I always struggle getting this open. Because I don't use it every day and it starts to get stuck. There we go. Okay. And then it always wants to glob out some. That's okay. We're going to need quite a bit tonight because we've got lots of painting to do. Trying to get the cap on, but not so crazy tight like it was before. Okay. So when it comes to gouache, it's going to be super thick when you first get it out of the tube. So you need to dilute it a little bit so that it's a little bit more fluid, but not so fluid that it's not going to be opaque enough. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Maybe we'll even do a little bit of splatter with the white when we're done here. Okay, let's start at the top. Let's see here. This is like a star, but it probably was more like a snowflake at some point. So let's maybe, and you could even pencil the design on first if you want, but I'm just gonna go in and pretend like it's gonna be like a kind of like a snowflake. Just like that. Probably has some other ones going out like that. Let's do a little we'll just do some little dots or something. Yeah, there you go. So we're just starting our cookie. Love it. Yes, May 5 Mouser, chocolate every time. That is the correct answer. Okay, let's do, like I'm looking at some examples of cookies online right now. Like I grabbed some. So I kind of have a reference. Okay. Let's do like a nice window. And then do some like this little motif here. Let's see. Let's see, what do I want to do on this edge here? Maybe we'll do more snow because there's snow down on that little edge there. Have a little bit of snow over there. That'll be cut off anyway, but that's okay. Maybe we'll do like a little heart. That'll get cut off, but that's okay. Okay. Then we have our little gingerbread guy. I always like it when the gingerbread has little squiggles on the legs. I think it's so cute. And we're gonna do like it has little buttons. Yeah, just like that. Keep it simple, right? Get a little more water over here. My paint was getting a little thick. Okay. The example I'm looking at for the glove, for the mitten, basically has like an outline. And then they did like a full wristband. And then they did kind of like a little scallopy edge. And I thought that was so cute. So I'm going to add that. Oh, so cute. Okay. Then they did like a snowflake right in the center. So let's do a really simple snowflake. Do some dots. All right. And then, I don't know, I think that's pretty good by itself. Maybe we'll leave it just like that. All right, my comments have stopped scrolling. There we go. Oh my word. I missed so many comments. The closed captions don't work on member lives because it's a private video. Sometimes Google will add automatic captions later though. All right, for the tree, I'm going to do an outline like I did on the mitten. just like some squiggles going down with some dots. For ornaments on the tree. All right, and then this bird down here, some were thinking it was a duck, some were thinking it was a chicken. I'm gonna paint it exactly like the example I found because I think it's so pretty. So first there was the outline, just like on the other cookies. All right, and then they did like a kind of like a little teardrop shape going into the wings. And I thought that was so pretty. And then they did another little snowflake right here. Okay. Cute. Oh my word, our cookies look so good. We're not done because we're going to add a little bit of shading onto the frosting so that it looks dimensional, right? Okay, let's Emily, I'm not sure. I think if you go to I think there might be a membership tab on my channel page. It might show only the member videos. I think. I'm not entirely sure. Okay, I'm going to hit this with my heat tool to dry out the gouache. I've got to go grab my paints again. I'm missing a dot on the snowflake bird. Oh, I am. Right there. Ta-da! Okay. Better dry that before I smear it. All right, I've got to grab my paint palette one more time because I'm going to use the black and the palette to tint my gouache just so I can have a little shading on just some of these really big white areas. I feel like it needs a little shading. Or maybe I don't even do gray. Maybe I'll do a kind of like a, I don't know, maybe like a really light brown. All right, so now I've got my palette over here. I'm going to take, no, I think I want to do the gray. So it's just like this gray shade, and it's going to tint my gouache, just a light gray. All right, let's test this. Thinking of just doing like just a little gray. Just like there'd be just a little shadow, you know? Just in a couple little spots. Let's see, any other spots that I need to add this to? Like just the lines and stuff, I don't know that I want to deal with it. I think that might be enough. I mean, I guess I could add it to the bottom of these little dots. Just to make them look like they're popped up a little bit. All right, I need to turn it this direction so I can do the just because I don't want to get my resting hand in the way, you know what I'm saying? All right, do I add more shading on the rest of it? I don't think I want to. I think I'm gonna, after I add it on these little dots, I think I'm gonna call it. Because I think it could start to get almost overwhelming. Okay, let's hit this with a heat tool. Then we're just going to do a really simple greeting. Okay, move this out of the way. Put my palette away so I don't get anything on it, or rather spill anything on it. I'm tempted to do a little splatter of white. I think I'm going to do it. I have this white gouache over here I can still use. Okay, do I dare do it? I'm going to do it. Oh, those are really big. I'm switching to a smaller brush. Because I want little flicks. Like a little bit. Like a little dusting. Almost like it's powdered sugar or something like that. There we go. Now I'm getting some good splatters. Okay, I think I'm going to call that. No more. I think I could start to go overboard. Okay. All right, while those little splatters dry, I'm going to set them over here. I'm going to take some black cardstock, and we're just going to use a white gel pen and create a couple little greetings. All right, I'm using my little Tim Holtz trimmer. I just have to get that a little smaller. Okay, I think, I don't know, about about that thick. Works. Okay. And the lovely greeting that I've come up with is Seasons Eatings. Does that work? Or do you guys have a better suggestion? I was thinking Seasons Eatings or Sweet Greetings, something like that. But I kind of like Seasons Eatings. How do we feel about that? Let me know. I almost want to add like a little red heart to it too. Like, anyway. All right, so Seasons Eatings. I think that could be cute. All right, do I want to pencil it on first? I don't know that I need to. I'm just going to do like really simple capital letters. Baking Spirits Bright. I like that too. Seasons Eatings. Baking Spirits Bright. Baking Spirits Bright. Do you want to do Baking Spirits Bright or Seasons Eatings? But we'll come up with, well, I'll do both. And then we'll decide. I'm going to actually cut this into 2 little strips. So I probably should have put more space in there, but that's okay. Okay. All right, there's Seasons Eatings. Seasons Eatings. Baking Spirits Bright is really cute. Okay, how do I want to do Baking Spirits Bright? I feel like one could be like a little bit fancy. Okay, and then bright. Okay. Grab my scissors. And we're gonna put the painting on a card base. And then we'll put the 2 gratings on to decide which. In fact, right. Or is all of our splatter dry? I think it's dry. All right. So I can remove, and then I can cut it down to exactly 5 by 7. It'll work edge to edge. It's kind of a cute little, you know, with the frame. I kind of like it. All right, so now let's trim this down. I'm gonna go over to my paper trimmer. It'll be so much easier to trim it over there. Okay. I don't want to lose too much of any one thing. All right, and 7. Okay, it did take off quite a bit of the snowflake, but not too bad. All right, I'm gonna put some tape runner adhesive on the card base, if I can get it started here. Trying to get the adhesive as close to the edge as possible. Oh, and I need a refill. This always happens right when I'm live. I think I must have been anticipating it because I had a refill and it was like lurking in a drawer and I don't know why. And I was like, why is this out? I think it's because I knew I was going to need a refill very soon. Okay. Oh, this is like a whole new one. Okay, well, I guess we're using a whole new one. I'm not mad at it. I didn't have to struggle with the refill. Oh, sometimes this adhesive is so strong that it pulls up the cardstock. Okay. Making sure I'm adhering this correctly. There we go. So now it's on a card base. All right, I'm gonna come in here and sit down so I can figure out exactly what I'm doing here. Okay, so I was thinking like, could be like Season's Eatings, and it would be a little bit like wonky like that, but I do like the idea of having 3 words because it'll take up the space a little bit more. Okay, so Season's Eatings, or we could do like a baking, spirits, bright, or I could even do a, I don't know, maybe I should have kept those together. Maybe do a little of this and then put a little red heart. That could be cute. I happen to have, I think I have some hearts hanging out around here somewhere. Hold on. That are already cut. I know they're in here somewhere. Hold on. Give me a minute. If not, I can cut one really fast, but pretty sure I already have some. Yeah, okay. From the Simon Says Stamp Mini Hearts Party, I can just grab it. Needs a bigger heart, doesn't it? think I like the Season's Eatings, and I'll cut a larger red heart so that it can be like that and then have a heart right there. I like that idea. And I'll even use the leftover red from the template that I was doing before. And I know I was saying minimal supplies, but I'm going to steal a heart from my Essentials set. I think this heart die cut would be perfect. Like that might be the perfect size. Yeah. All right, I'm going to cut this real quick. My die cutting machine is buried under watercolor supplies right now. Okay. Alrighty. Oh, come on. Come off. There we go. Oh yeah, that's a good heart. I might even coat it in red glitter glue because I cannot help myself. Okay. So we do Season's Eatings, and then I could put the heart right down there, or let's get the heart centered in that little area. Okay, I like that. I like that arrangement. I think that's really cute. Let's put these on some foam. Put a little foam on the back of the heart. I can tell it is dinner time for me. My hands are not feeling as steady. I'm hungry, y'all. I need to go eat. So I'm glad we're just about done here. Okay. Some tweezers. I like to adhere stuff like this with tweezers because I can really like sit back and see where it is on the card. There we go. All right, let's add some red glitter glue to that, and then we will call it a day. So I like to use, this is Christmas red Stickles. This is just gonna make it so it's not like a flat red heart. So I squeeze a little bit out and then I like spread it around without squeezing the bottle so that it's not like a huge amount of glitter. You could also use a piece of paper or something to kind of spread it just so it's not like a big glop of glue, this glitter glue. Oh yeah, it needed a little sparkle. This is perfect. I guess I could have also just cut it out of red glitter cardstock, but you know, whatever. Okay, but you can see how that sparkles now. Oh, I love it. Okay, one more thing, and then I'm gonna call it done. Hold on, I gotta get my plastic from my Cricut. That moved. Call me crazy. I think it needs some rounded corners. just because it's just so cute with the rounded corners. It's all, oh, this is a lot going through 2 layers of cardstock and watercolor paper. Okay. All right, and then this corner up here got a little weird, so I'm gonna just trim that. Okay. All right, so that is day 5 of the holiday card series. Hour and a half, not bad. I'm going to do a quick spiel for those watching the edited replay, and then I'll stick around for just a few minutes to say goodbye to y'all. So here we go. So here is the finished card for day 5 of the holiday card series. Turned out so cute, better than I thought it would, and I love the addition of the glittery heart right there. I think that looks great. I like the Season's Eatings greeting, although Baking Spirits Bright was really cute too. I think just if I had a different shape area that was open, I probably would have done that one as well, or instead I should say. So anyway, that's day 5. Hope you'll come back for day 6. It'll be on Wednesday, and I will see you there. Thanks for watching. Okay. All right. Love the rounded corners. Melinda, you know what? I don't do rounded corners enough. I used to do them all the time. Let's see. Karina's asking, she's all, I hope to see this design in future Christina Werner stamp, stencil, and die set. Don't you worry, because I had the same thought. I was like, this would be so much easier in a stencil. Like stencil, get the edges all nice or whatever, and then have another design on top, so you can just do like a white embossing paste or something. Don't you worry. It's up here. I'm thinking about next year. Let's see. Carrie's asking, are Stickles the same as Nouveau crystal drops? I think the crystal, I don't know. Are crystal drops, are they glitter? I don't know. I do know that Nouveau has a bunch of different kind of squeezy bottle type products. They have ones that are clear, that are like jelly-like. If it's glittery at all, it probably is very similar to this. Let's see here. Oh yes, Andrea, good call. Mail. Okay, I'm gonna have to put this into the edited replay part. Just a reminder that mail call will be this Thursday at, I think we're doing it at 3 p.m. Mountain Time. So I hope you'll come by and join me for that. And then we have our day 6 on Friday of the holiday card series. So come back for that as well. You know what? I'm going to redo that. Redo. We're doing a retake. We're just going to do the whole edited replay spiel again. Sorry, y'all. Okay. So here is day 5 of the holiday card series, all finished. I love how that glitter heart really brings in a little bit more texture onto the card. And I really love the Season's Eatings, although the Making Spirits Bright was really cute. And I think if the area that was open right here was a little bit differently shaped, I probably would have done that grading instead of the Season's Eatings. So anyway, there we go. A couple of housekeeping items to remind you of before I close up this video. We have day 6 and day 7 of the holiday card series coming up on Wednesday and Friday. And in between, on Thursday afternoon, we're going to be doing live mail call. I'm going to open the mail and see everyone's cards that they've made for the month of November. The theme was ink blending. So this is going to be some really fun watching on all these cards. So I hope you'll come back and check that out. That'll be Thursday at 3 p.m. Mountain Time. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you all in another video very soon. There we go. You got that twice. Debbie says, I have the corner chomper and never thought to use it on card corners. What have you used it for? This is the only thing I do. Is it like maybe like mats or like sections on a card maybe? I don't know. What are you doing with it? Let's see. Oh, thank you all. You guys are so sweet. You love the card tonight. I love how it turned out too. Yes, Carol has a lovely idea. She says, It would be cool to die cut them and mount them on foam so they look like they're sitting on a plate. Exactly. So if you do the SVG file, the cut file, you could do that. Like the pieces that are cut out, like where's my little template? Here we go. You could cut them out and then just cut them free from the frame, and then you'd have the pieces. So if you wanted to do that and cut it out of watercolor paper and then paint them, or even ink blend them, and then use a white gel pen to draw your designs, you could totally like do a different version of this card. I think that could be really cute. The bottle again. Oh, are you talking about the Stickles? This is the Stickles Christmas Red. It might not be what they call it anymore. And then the watercolors are the Sakura Koi Pocket Filled Sketchbox. Everything's linked in the video description. If you go over to my blog, this is not linked, unfortunately, but the paints are. The paints are linked over to Amazon. So if you were wondering about that. Okay. Oh, embossing folder. I want to do embossing folders. I'll do them someday. Question, when die cutting glitter cardstock, which side do you cut through? I cut into the glitter. It should be able to cut well enough. Let's see. I'm looking through for comments. All right, I think I've caught everything. But if you have a question or whatever that I haven't caught, please repeat it. Going back, seeing if I missed anything. Yeah, don't know that this would be a mass producible card though. Yeah, probably not. I think if it was the die cuts and you just ink blend the edges, I think that could go really fast and easy. I think that could be, I think you could probably mass produce that. Like maybe in this future product, it is like you stamp the cookie design, you die cut the outer edge, and then you could ink blend over it. Like you white heat emboss the design, and then you can just ink blend right over the top. That could be fast, really fast. Like cut it out of, like stamp on craft colored cardstock, and then all you have to do is ink blend the darker brown on. That could really work. Okay. Did I design the cat intro for the holiday card series? Funny, that's AI. But I did type in the prompt. I was like, I want a gray tabby American short-hair cat sitting in a room. There's a window with a snowy scene in the background, and there's a fireplace. And there's a Christmas tree or whatever, and that the cat is creating a card, and there's a Christmas tree on the front, and the cat holds it up and opens the card, and it's blank inside, and it's blank so that I could put the text on it. But so AI did it, but I prompted it. Does that mean I did it? Let's see here. Will I ever make more cards with pattern paper? Maybe. Like nowadays, I just prefer to like make the pattern with a stencil or painted or something like that. But there are some really good pattern paper pads out there. Oh, metal cookie cutter to trace the shapes. Yes, you could totally do that too. These are about the size of a small cookie, so you totally could do cookie cutters. Do you have any tips for smooth color blending like your background? For painting? I don't know if you were here at the beginning, but I was talking about how you want to keep the bead of water, you want to keep adding on to that. As long as the edge doesn't ever dry, you can keep adding more water on and you'll get a really, really smooth background. So maybe like test it out a few times just on like a big rectangle, like start at the top, paint, and tip your board up so that it forces the bead of water to be at the bottom of the area you're painting. And then you can, with your brush, just catch that bead of water and continue painting. That really does help. Okay, which AI platform did I use? I don't know. It was one that was offered with the company that I get music from. So they had like an AI thing that you could try. So that's what I did. All right. So, hello. Oh, here's the camera. I had to move it out of the way. And now it's in my shot, but hold still. That's the painting camera. I was going to have it in there when I first started the video, but I'm like, no, I can probably just like adjust it. That worked out pretty well. It wasn't too bad, but now you can see where it would be otherwise, because the painting's like right here. Probably should see if I can put it up higher and then it would be out of the camera. But anyway, all right. I'm going to close up for the night. I'm going to go have dinner and all that. Have a lovely rest of the week. I will see you on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday this week. Lots of fun happening. And then we're getting close to the end of the holiday card series, which means it's Christmas. The holiday card series ends on Christmas Eve this year. Isn't that crazy? So we're halfway through as of Wednesday, because that's the 6th, day 6. All right, everyone have a lovely week. I will see you later, and thanks for joining me tonight. See you guys later, guys. See you guys later, guys. Oh my gosh. See you all later.